Is CrossFit healthy? Is one of the most Googled questions related to CrossFit. But what does that question even mean? Do you have a good definition of health? Well, it's like not being sick, right? Well, sure. Health is absence of disease. That'll be having your cholesterol low, or your insulin low, or your blood pressure low, and inflammation markers low. What does that even mean? I don't even know my blood pressure. Exactly. We start worrying about those things when they're already gone bad. Like we're always tired, or we have pre-diabetes, or headaches, or something. That's the problem with healthcare. It only cares about things when it's already a problem. But by then, it's already gone quite far. So what is health? Well, it is all of those things. Resting heart rate and blood pressure, and keeping cholesterol and triglycerides and stress hormones low, or at least under control. But just like sickness, these things follow as consequences of something else. The stimulus we put into the system. Meaning what? Well, training and nutrition and sleep and mental health, for lack of a better word. So if I train right, if I sleep right, if I eat right, then I'll be healthy. Basically as easy as that, if you can define what right is. Let me explain the training here. So for training, we can think in two axes. First one is movement pattern, which is muscle groups that work together. Upper body push, upper body pull, and then lower body push, lower body pull, and the midline to stabilize those two, or the core, you could say. And on the other axis, there's neurological strength. Neurological strength is the brain-body connection, measures short power output. Then we have muscle endurance. Muscle endurance is muscle size and local fueling in the muscle, measuring in 1 to several minutes. And aerobic capacity, which is primarily about endurance and fuel sourcing, where oxygen comes in as a player more and more the longer the workout is. And covering all of those on a regular basis would boost muscle mass, improve blood pressure, mood, inflammation, bone density, all of that stuff. But what do you mean covering those things? Think of it like this. Strength training is first about learning the skill of controlling a movement, or getting a muscle to contract in concert with other muscles. And once you have that, you want to increase strength by adding more resistance, more weight. And by then, you're working the neurological strength, the mind-muscle connection, and muscle endurance. And the longer sets you do, the more aerobic or cardio it becomes. Say we want to do a really heavy front squat. That will require skill practice first, putting on muscle endurance and muscle size for a considerable time, and then boosting the nerve paths to those muscles so they can fire hard enough for a single heavy lift. Or going out running on the same legs requires a base of muscle endurance and tendon strength, but the primary fuel you use on a long run is aerobic, or oxygen, or this heart-lung system, which is why we sometimes call endurance training cardio. It's the same leg muscles in all three examples, but different fuel sources. But what's that got to do with health? Well, it's all connected. You need strength in order to do cardio, and you need cardio or endurance in order to build strength. And the combination of those is what builds muscle mass and lowers blood pressure and helps control blood chemistry and hormone control and so on. Feels like something's missing though. Well, yes, training is a stimulus and it causes inflammation to the body. And what we need to do is recover from that stimulus afterwards by eating enough proteins and fiber and vitamins and minerals and refueling enough carbohydrates to go again, and sleep, so that we can train without the body freaking out because it's overwhelmed all the time. What do you mean? Well, if life is all hustle and you're running on a minute-by-minute schedule, then we're always in this fight or flight state with elevated stress hormones, and we never get to process and metabolize and recover. That sounds very yin and yang. Well, yes, but that's how biology works. Anyway, what CrossFit aims at doing is covering all of those pathways and movement patterns to boost whole body health. We map it out on a graph that is color-coded the same way karate has belt colors. Like a black belt is really high level and it requires years of dedicated work. And a white belt workout, it's aimed at starting from scratch. And a yellow belt is a well-balanced beginner. What does that look like in reality? So, say a workout is in two parts. We have squatting in the first part, and the second part is some kind of muscle endurance for the same movement patterns, that's legs. In the first part, a white and yellow belter might practice skill by focusing on making the movement as smooth as possible with light weights or only a stick. On orange and blue, they'll be squatting with more resistance or more weight to build muscle endurance, kind of push up the strength in the muscles. And brown and black, we're trimming that strength with a neurological aspect as focus on the first part of the workout. And then on the second part, we'll focus on strength building at moderate weights for white and yellow. We'll continue stamina for orange and blue and muscle endurance for brown and black. That way we all work all parts of the strength continuum in the same workout. You'll just have different focus on neurological versus muscle endurance depending on how thick of a base you've already built, if you know what I mean. That is pretty neat, ain't it just? So is CrossFit healthy? Well, if you do it right, by learning skill first and then putting on weights and then graduating to advanced movements, then yes, it's safe and makes the body and mind more resilient than any other training form that I know of.